hey, it's Christine Pereira with Stephanie Rennert. That's how you say your last name?
You got it.
Yay, and this is a Soulful Seller series. We just fixed our technical problems thanks to Brandon, who is our superhero technical support, who jumped in, and so everything's working. Awesome. So I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk earlier and that we're talking now. So welcome to everyone here. This is a series I do with different people. My company is called Soulful Selling Bootcamp, and I talk about how to sell authentically with confidence. And so I interview different people that I think embody soulful selling. Some are professional salespeople. Some are just entrepreneurs who I think have a very soulful way of approaching business. And I think Stef fits in that category. So I'm very excited. So do you want to first give a little background about yourself?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me here, Christine.
Yeah.
I'm excited that we're here on your Soulful Selling series.
Awesome.
It definitely drew me in right away. I love alliteration. So you got that there. Your soulful selling and the words, anything with the word soulful in it, definitely has my attention. So my name is Stephanie Rennert. I am at Stephanie Rennert on all social media. And I like to go by Stef with an F ever since I found my Periscope posse. Oh, there I go, the alliterations again. And I guess formerly I was a human resources professional at a digital media agent company in New York City. Hey, Allison, bro, woohoo, she's here. Thanks for being here. And so formerly I was a human resources professional at a digital media company in New York City, and I resigned because it didn't feel soulfully aligned for me, and I went kind of on my own journey to figure out what would feel more aligned for me, and I decided I'd rather just call myself a resourceful human. And over the past 2.5 years, I've been figuring out what does that exactly mean and experimenting and trying many different paths and really finding my place right now. And I've just launched a business called solutionswithstef.com. And it's not your typical business, and it's evolving little bit by bit every day. And it's been really, really exciting.
Awesome. I just typed in your website in there, Solutions with Stef. Yeah, so exciting. So we were talking about this earlier today, and I was so happy and like somewhat relieved to hear that you've been on this journey for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Stef, that's like a very similar thing that happened to me, that I worked in, corporate digital advertising. And it really, I knew that I wanted to take a change. And I think people think like, oh, you're going to make it right away and you're going to know exactly what you're going to do. And the reality is that you don't know. And that it does take, most people I talk to, it does take them like 1.5 years, 2 years. That seems like a pretty normal amount of time to go. And I can say that I was thinking about it for many, many, many years before that. Knowing that this was not, I always knew, hey, I'm not going to always be working here. This is not going to be my ultimate thing. So that was like, I actually felt great when you said that. I was like, I'm not the only one who's like, I felt like I was remedial in like finding my purpose. And I would also say, it's not like I totally figured it out yet. I think it's an ongoing process.
Totally.
So that was cool to hear. So let me ask you one question to start.
Yeah.
What was it? Maybe it was one thing or many things that made you finally take that decision to leave your job? Because I think we were talking earlier, I think that's the hardest step. It's certainly hard to do all of these things once you become an entrepreneur, but taking that step, especially from like a corporate job to being on your own is, takes a huge amount of courage and confidence. Like what made you finally decide to do that?
Well, I think the turning point was when my back physically went out. Like I was in super, super amounts of pain. I couldn't move for like a week, and I knew that this is not right. And at that point I had been like studying mind-body connection, and I knew that like something is definitely off. If this keeps happening, this is not going to be good for my life. So that was like the major, major trigger. But
wow.
Yeah, so that I remember it was around Valentine's Day, and it wasn't very lovely or magical. And before that, I think I just always knew that in all of the corporate positions that I was in, it never felt right. Like there were aspects of it that I liked, but the aspects always involved getting to know people and being this resourceful go-to person, and working with people. So for instance, before I worked at the digital media agency, I worked at Nickelodeon for from 2005 until 2010. And I was always an executive assistant there, and I worked in 3 different departments there. I worked first for an advertising division, and then for a year, and then I worked with production and development for preschool television for Dora the Explorer and Blue's Clues in production development for 2 years. Yeah. And then I quit my job. I moved to Italy for about 3 months. And yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I need to add that into part of my journey.
There anytime, it's waiting for you. And then I, after it was like 2008, and so it was like economic recession downturn, and so after I ate my way through my savings, I came back to the U.S. and I networked, and I said to that email that I sent to everybody, you know, bon viaggio, I'm out, you know, hope our paths cross again. I emailed them and said, remember that email that said, I hope our paths cross again? Well, this is your opportunity. I'm back in the States, and do you know of anything? Because I guess I had studied human development at Cornell University, which is similar to the psychology major. And I just knew I liked people, and I knew I liked food and talking with people over food, hence why I was drawn to Italy. But I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And when I was at Nickelodeon, I was an executive assistant there and in 3 different departments. So after I came back from Italy, one of the women that I had known from the production development with Nickelodeon team had gotten promoted while I was away in Italy. And she needed somebody to join her team as an assistant. And she saw my email and said, look, I know you've been an assistant over and over again, but I need somebody who could hit the ground fast, who I trust. And, you know, this may not be your dream job, but why don't we just, you know, figure it out and see the economy's bad. And if something else comes up, then we'll figure it out at that point. So I stayed there for a year, and I had 3 different roles at Nickelodeon. And so bummed you can't stay. Oh, Allie. Well, I'm glad you made it. That's so nice to see you. I hope maybe you can catch the replay. Thanks for being here.
I know. Thanks for joining.
And if you guys haven't shared the Twitter bird yet, please tell a Twitter bird if you're here and watching. We'd appreciate that. So,
good idea.
I should post on Facebook too, right? I think I overposted on Facebook. I'll let it be for now. I thought I was going to post a picture. Let it be. So yeah, so I was at Nickelodeon in 2 different roles, and then I went to Italy. I took an exploratory vacation to Italy, and that happened because I was supposed to be promoted, but they didn't have the corporate headcount to increase me to a coordinator from the assistant role. So they said they'd understand if I looked for a position elsewhere. And I said, actually, I'm going to take this as a blessing in disguise, and I'm going to leave on good terms and go to Italy. So I came back, I worked at Nickelodeon, and I did that last job. It was Nickelodeon strategy for about a year. So I started there in about April of 2009 and up until April of 2010. And that was my most like interesting role, because at that time they were rebranding Nickelodeon, and I loved like just anything creative and colorful, and I thought that would be a better position for me, and it was. But at the same time, I didn't want to be promoting SpongeBob marathons for my whole life, and I didn't feel driven. I love the people that were around, and I love the colorful environment, and I love being that go-to person that, like, you know, when they had a tech problem, especially during Mercury retrograde, which I probably didn't know much about at that point. I was the go-to person that could be like, oh, Stephanie knows the person on the tech hotline that can get, you know, your computer fixed fast. So that's what always turned me on. And so that's why after, you know, when I applied for a job, and then I found the digital media company job, and I thought human resources, because I liked, you know, helping people. But there are lots of pieces of being a human resources professional that, you know, are very left brain and paperworky. And I'm much more of a creative, artistic individual. And I just, you know, after 3 years, I wasn't feeling it. And I knew that this isn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to do something that was more involving my talents. But what the hell is that? So hence I decided to call myself a resourceful human. And going from a human resources professional to a resourceful human. And I've just kind of been playing with that over the past few years and figuring out what does it mean. And
you were saying you like explored a lot of different things. And like, do you want to talk about some of the things you explored? Because it sounds like so many cool things. And I think it's, people always think, well, I'm going to have an idea and they don't know what to do. And, that's what I always tell people, like just start researching anything that interviews you or anything that interests you and interview people, right? So I would just like ask friends, like I met someone who worked at, the career development part of my, like an old college. And I just talked to all these random people that now I'm like, well, like that wasn't interesting at all. But at the time I thought it was. So what are some of the things that you looked into that like kind of like over these 2 years?
I think honestly, I was always looking into things. I definitely I love gathering and collecting information and resources. So even while I was at Nickelodeon, I was going on these informational interviews, which got me to each of the next positions while I was there, the 3 different roles I had there. And then while I was at the digital media company, like I spent a lot of time just trying to get to know myself. So a lot of it's really started while I was still in the job. I think after at a certain point, I just was like, life has to be better. I was, not very self-aware, and I was doing a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors, and I wasn't always being super kind to myself. And that's a lifelong process and journey, as we all know that. And one day I was just like, there's got to be a better way. And I would always pass by the New York City Open Center, which is kind of like a gathering place for holistic healers and teachings. So they have meditation classes, yoga classes, essential oil classes, and they even had a meditation room, and where you could just like give your driver's license and go meditate for like as ever long as you wanted and things like that. So I would always walk by and I never went. And one day I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm just going to go take this intro to meditation free complimentary class day. And I did that while I was still in the job. And I remember talking to the teacher after class because I was so intrigued. I always was that person that went up after to talk to the teacher. And I met another young professional who was there. And I ended up asking her on a like friendly dinner date. I was like, hey, do you want to just get some chicken tikka masala at Curry in a Hurry in Murray Hill? And she's like, sure. I was like, I'm just like, things have been really like bummy lately, between my job, and I just wasn't feeling like uplifted. And so we went, and she told me about this women's empowerment course, which was really like the turning point in my journey. So that was while I was still working, and this women's empowerment course was called SheCreatesChange.com, and the course itself was called Jumpstart Change. And I think it was like, I don't remember how many weeks, it was maybe like 12 or I don't know, a few months, like maybe from May and through September of that year. I think it was 2013 or so. And no, 2012 maybe. And I for the first time in my life, they had like a weekend workshop. It was the same weekend that I had just met the girl, and I went to the one day thing, and for the first time in my life, I knew that this was something I wanted to do without asking other people in my life, hey, do you think I should do this? And other people, by other people, I mean my mom, who's in the chat. Hi, Mom. Remember, I didn't call you. I was just like, I gave them my credit card. I was like, yes, I want this. And for the first time, I connected to people like that also were in my shoes. They weren't feeling fulfilled, and they just weren't sure what to do. And so that was my first exposure to meditation. And the founder, Saparna, she would say, we take the time to brush our teeth every morning, but do you take the time to brush your soul? And so she has this, what she calls her morning practice. So 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of journaling, 10 minutes of stretching, 10 minutes of reading something uplifting, and then a whole course and workbook that went along with that. So that was really the beginning of my transition to know that there's another way to do things, and that there are other people out there that are interested in finding that spiritual, soulful level that I didn't really recognize before, but it was always calling me. So that was kind of the turning point for that. And I lasted, 2 more years in the job after that, but I was always kind of, while I was there, I was exploring, Louise Hay and all different like healing and spiritual modalities. So I knew that.
What did you think about what Louise said about
back pain? Is money issues.
Right. Did you feel like that was like related to your back pain?
I mean, how is it never related to that? And
I know,
it's funny because I guess I was always a studious student, and I went to Cornell, and I would carry all my textbooks my whole life, especially in middle school and high school. I was always, escape to my studies. And I spent a lot of my time really not taking care of myself, although maybe it didn't appear in my physical body, to the average eye. But, I wasn't super strong because I would always be studying. So from school, I wouldn't enjoy the gym classes. And then I would go to, college, and I'd walk up the hill with tons of books in my backpack because it was before all the super, super digital age. And I ended up getting herniated discs and bulging discs in my back because I wasn't really super into exercising. So, that's where the lower back pain I know comes from me, for me. But that's also why I'm super interested in being a resourceful human, because I have spent a lot of time gathering all these resources and this information. And now I feel like it's my time with Solutions with Stef to start like going through all of the stuff I've amassed, all the data and the resources and the people and the products. And that's what I'm really excited about, putting it out there in a way that's fun and resourceful and entertaining. I like to call it infotaining, which is what my next level is going to be all about.
Yeah, awesome. So let's talk about Solutions with Stef and what you came up with, because we were talking about this today and you were kind of like unfocused, and it sounds like you got like a little bit more motivated recently and got like a clearer vision.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for this platform. Like I said, Soulful selling just like totally drew me in like a magnet, Christine. Like I was like, I told you the alliteration of the soulful selling, and just like this is it. So I guess Solutions with Stef, I have always kind of thought about, besides that also being an alliteration with 2 S's, look at that, we're aligned, is that I just always love connecting things in different ways. My mind has always been different, and for a long time I didn't value it. I was just like, that's strange, why don't I think like other people? But now I'm starting to really recognize and celebrate it as something that is my secret superpower. Not so secret anymore now that I'm on Periscope and live stream. But I remember even when I was a kid in school, I loved Italian class. I'm actually not Italian. I'm a Jewish girl who grew up in the suburbs of New York. But I just felt like maybe I was an Italian in a past life, and I've been to Italy 3 times. And I just always would think, well, how am I going to get around, if I don't know this word on the test? Like, this is a really simple example, but the name of, I forgot the name of a cat, I would say, on my test, I would say, the animal that has 4 legs, a tail, whiskers, and says meow. And I would still get the credit on the test. So I was always thinking of ways to get around things and just be creative. So exactly.
Like creative solutions, yeah.
I just always love ideating and being part of brainstorming sessions and putting people and concepts and ideas together, and gathering information has just been a big thing for me. But what to do when you've gathered it all. And that's really where I'm coming to with Solutions with Stef. I love to just get to know people and their stories. And that's why the platform like this is so appealing to me. I think that that's what I was initially drawn to about human resources, that I was getting to help people and get to know them, whether I was interviewing them or helping them when they were, on the job and not really something wasn't vibing and I could help them. But then along with that went so many other left brain types of things that just really wasn't me. So now I realize that with Solutions with Stef, I can get to know people and really I can help uncover what their strengths are just by talking to them. And then I can see kind of who that person really needs to meet with and who they might benefit from connecting with. And
awesome. So you're like a connector. So you're looking like, hey, this is your biggest strength. I want to connect you with this person or tool or whatever. And so would you do that as a coach?
I'm still figuring out the model right now, but I'm thinking more a real estate agent takes a finder fee. So some type of, if I refer you to somebody and you start working together, then I have an agreement with the person that I've referred them to. And as long as they're still working together, I would get a percentage of, whatever their fee is for whatever they're working on is towards, because I've been doing that naturally for just so long. And I just enjoy doing that. I know myself really well. I've been a student of myself for quite some time, ever since I started taking that meditation one-day workshop. It just went into self-development galore. And I've experimented with so many different people as I went on my path, which is what you were asking before. I mean, I worked with astrologists, I worked with energy healers, I worked with angel card readers, I worked with therapists, I worked with life coaches. And then from all the events that I tend to travel in, or circles, whether online or in real life in New York City, I just got to know a lot of people that were doing those types of things too. So that's why I like to say that I'm targeting people that are in the healing and helping type of professions. And there goes another alliteration, healers and helpers. So yeah, it doesn't exist anywhere online yet. Right now it's in my head, but I just love connecting people and helping them. And I think a lot of people that are in healing and helping professions don't always love promoting themselves and talking about themselves. And I love talking about people. When I get excited about something or someone, I'm just all about that. So that just comes naturally and easy to me. And especially when people have actually helped me on my own journey, like my astrologist and my angel card reader, psychic, intuitive friend have so much. So I would be happy to refer people onto them and anybody else who kind of has helped me in the past or currently or in the future of my journey.
Yeah, and I love that because I feel like certain things, I've done the same thing, right? Talk to psychics and coaches and chiropractors, so many different types of people. And it's funny because really when I think about it, I was getting a very similar message from all of them. But for some reason, like something connects differently at a different time for some people, like a pastor might resonate much more than like someone who has like a psychic connection, right? So I think that's fantastic because it's like you have to find the right person for the right, you have to find that right connection, right? Because that's what's going to make a difference. And I love that you're doing that. And it's so funny. I do that too. Like, I don't have major medical problems, but I've worked with like all these really amazing medical intuitives. And I'm always recommending them. Like, no, you should talk to this guy because he's like very different and quirky and like whatever. And this guy is for like this type of person. Like I already have it in my head. Like I'm always recommending these certain people to friends or even people that I don't even know that well, because I feel like it will be useful. So I love that, like, having it some kind of organization around that or like formal process is something that's like really needed, like a Yelp for, like personal development. Yeah. I mean, that's like, I've been thinking that for a while, like where do people find these people? It's always word of mouth. So I love that idea. That's so cool. So let me ask you this. If you could describe yourself or your business with 3 words, what would they be?
Playful, colorful. Everything's colorful with me.
I know. There's nothing pink today.
Sorry,
I was promoting the pink hair.
I don't know if I brushed it.
I know. I think I sent out
I like to wear it. Sometimes I say that life is messy. So
that's what was missing. Yes, it was. You were like, who is this person? You don't recognize her.
Life is messy. So sometimes I brush it, sometimes I don't. And that's really the permission I like to give myself that, I think that corporate sometimes is just so formal and that's just really not me. And the soulful part of me just wants to play and connect and be free. And that's what I want to stand for. I feel like my purpose in this lifetime is to inspire the sharing of truth and have a good time while doing it. And that's what I finally feel like I'm able to do with the live streaming options that we have through Periscope and Blab and whatever else comes out in 2016 and post 2016. But you were asking me words. So I said colorful, playful, and
playful.
And I mean, I have so many words. Open, bold, playful, and abundant are my core desired feelings. So.
Awesome. I love those. Awesome. I love those. And I would say that too. I mean, I think so. Steph and I are in the Periscope group together. And I feel like you're always the most like supportive, loving person in there, right? Because there's always someone who like misses, something on the schedule and everyone's kind of gets all worked up about it. And you're the one who's like, it's okay. You're still awesome. And I love that about you. I'm like, you're like the support. I feel like you're like the the supportive, like happy, loving, like, you know, mom of the group that, like, you know, brings everyone, hey, you know, it's about, because it's really about giving back and talking about things that inspire people and make their lives better. So I love that you do that. And I love the playful thing. So speaking of that, you were talking about a song that you wrote.
Which song? There's so many songs. Hold on. I'm just saying.
You were talking about the, wasn't there, because I think we were saying, you know, it's hard once you make this decision and to like not go back to the corporate world, right? And you make like a decision. I know for me, you know, like, and there's, I think everyone has a different point, right? Because I actually did go back and then I stopped, or
whatever needed to happen happened.
And for me, no, it was meant to happen for sure. But it was very funny because I was like, okay, for me, the no going back point was like me finally posting things on LinkedIn, because I, you know, all my professional contacts were on LinkedIn. So when I post all of these blabs on LinkedIn, and all of those people probably think I'm crazy. I'm like, awesome, because I'm not part of your world anymore. So, but you wrote a song about like, you're not going to take it anymore, right? So this is kind of what
happened along the way. So after I did the women's empowerment class, you know, while I was still at my job, and then the meditation classes, and started taking more self-development workshops. Finally, it was Mother's Day of 2013, and I tied a pink bow around my neck, and I said, "Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I'm moving home." And I'm leaving my apartment in the city and my job in the city, and I'm coming back to the suburbs of Westchester, 40 minutes from New York City. And I thought I had more of an idea of what I wanted to do, but it turns out I didn't. And that started the next leg of my journey. But I just knew that I felt so passionate about, I don't want to sit in a corporate office and desk job. And so I took like writers workshops and dream journaling classes, and I ended up working at a yoga studio, not as a teacher because of my back, but I wanted to take some gentle yoga classes. So I went from being a human resources professional to a yoga studio receptionist, and I just wanted to be around different energy and just totally shift myself. And I wasn't I guess while that was happening, I just started, while I was meditating and reading and doing things, these songs would just pop into my head. And I'd be like, why do I keep like hearing music and songs? I'm like, it must be happening for a reason, that I would dismiss it. And actually, it kind of happened while I was still at my job, to be honest. I remember back now. But one of the songs, like, I would just hear the lyrics to songs and I would change them in my head to something that made me laugh and helped me feel more inspired. So the song I think you're referring to is, you know, I love the musical Rock of Ages, but that's not where it's from originally. But, you know, we're not gonna take it. No, we're not gonna take it. Twisted Sister, we're not gonna take it anymore. I would change it to, you might not need a desk job anymore. And, you know, you might, you know, technically sometimes you do, which goes to the part of my story where I did do some temp jobs. I did work back in offices. I saw the different sides of the world again. And, you know, I could, you know, you got to do what you have to do sometimes. But that was my dream. And I would always keep that kind of as something that would, you know, propel me forward. And maybe I could find the people that didn't want a desk job anymore. And while I was on that journey, that leads me to Beauty Counter. This is the mug from Beauty Counter. So while I was still exploring and taking these dream journaling classes and things, I would go to different holistic centers. And in Westchester, there's a holistic center called the Wainwright House. And I was at the Wainwright House for their health and wellness fair. And I saw a table glistening in the sun of all these skincare products. And I was like, what is that? And I was just thinking, oh, I just ran out of my face moisturizer. I have to go to Sephora, but I don't know what's in this stuff. And I wish there was just one place where everything was just clean and like one brand so I could just get it all together. And lo and behold, there was this table. And there was a woman there talking about this company called Beauty Counter. And it's, you could say it's like a network marketing company, but we prefer to call it a direct retail brand. And basically, Beauty Counter is on a mission to get safer products into the hands of everyone. They want people, they're a mission first company, so they put people and planet before profits. And they just want everybody to know what's in their products. And basically what I learned, and was shocked to learn, that the European Union bans 1,300 ingredients, but the United States only bans 11. And most people don't even know this. So the company is all about educating people first and teaching them, you know, what's in your products, teaching that there are resources like apps that can scan the barcode and tell you, you know, what is actually in your product and how safe it is on a scale of 0 to 10. And just knowing that this company is has the strictest ingredient selection process in the industry, and they're really being revolutionary in that they're disclosing all of the ingredients that go into every product that they use and giving you a glossary. So even if you aren't familiar with it, you know, and you're educated. So I really love the mission of the company. On the back of all the bottles, it said that the values of the company are truth, beauty, and transparency. And that just felt really aligned with me as a person, because I love to tell the truth. I may be somewhat of an oversharer, but you know what? It makes me feel good, and I don't care. I don't have to take it anymore. So the truth, the beauty, and the transparency. And for me, the beauty part is getting to the ahas, because I love learning about myself and learning about people. And that brought me to another parody song that I had created. I like to call them spiritual remixes more than parodies, because parodies are kind of making fun of, and mine just have kind of like an inspirational message. So I came up with, over these 2 years also, the song from Lady Gaga. You know, she lives for the applause. I like to live for the ahas. So the way that things, for me, the ahas. So, and these songs would just keep coming to me, and I'd be like, what the hell? Where are they coming from?
So you're getting like spiritual messages through songs. Do you read Martha Beck?
She's one of the few teachers that I have not like followed strictly. Yeah. Oh, really?
She talks about this all the time. So it's so funny that like people get intuitive messages like through songs. So I love that. You're like a perfect example of that.
Over the time when my mind was going wild, because I'm very creative and I have a very busy mind, if you can imagine. My astrologist friend, Sarah Barra of Astrology, she told me, Steph, the best thing you could do is take it to the meditation mat. I recommend you go on a 10-day silent meditation retreat. So I did that too. I spent my 32nd birthday in silence for 10 days at a Vipassana meditation retreat. And I learned, it was actually like earlier in my journey. So I was very fortunate that I didn't have to worry about the job and, you know, all kids or family, because I don't have kids. And so it's just like, and I was able to completely for the first time slow down and just like, whoa, and be really present to whatever was coming up for me. And besides limiting beliefs and anxiety and things, what would come up for me were songs. And I was just like, boy, I'm quite entertaining. And people, they would be so solemn, and I'd be laughing to myself. Like, I remember they told us in orientation when we were still talking that you could, we have, you know, for example, we'll have food every night and maybe we'll have mac and cheese one night. They should never have said that, because for the next 10 days, I kept wondering, when the hell is mac and cheese night? And then finally, when the mac and cheese came, I jumped up a little bit and I was like, oh! and everybody was like, what's with that girl? And then I remember hearing in my head the song from Thrift Shop, you know, the Macklemore song, Thrift Shop. It says, this is fucking awesome. And I'd be like, dun, dun, dun. I'm like, what is going on? I have like a jukebox in my head.
It's so funny.
So yeah, I just stay silent for 10 days. But the thing is, it's silent to the other meditators. If you have questions, you can ask the teacher behind closed doors questions. It's not like you can't talk. It's just to not get in other people's, you know, psyche, so that they can really empty out. And yeah, so the music just kept coming. And also I started to write poetry. I did as a kid, and I let it kind of go. And I think through Periscope, I actually had an aha that I realized that I really enjoy writing poetry as well. Because on one of my Periscopes, I was reading an old story I wrote in 4th grade called The Poem King. And it hit me on a different level, because I saw all the limiting beliefs I was carrying, and they were there in that 4th grader. And it was fascinating. And it reminded me that I love poetry. And for my graduation speeches, I always wrote in poems. And for different school projects, I wrote in poems. So I started journaling in poems while I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I just recently started incorporating that more into my Periscopes. And so now that's part of one of the solutions that I want to offer now on the website that's going to be in development, that, you know, I can do commissioned, customized poems and parody songs for people if you want, for a gift for somebody in your family, if they have a special occasion coming up. I love getting that. Combines me liking to hear people's stories, getting to know people, interviewing them on the side, and then coming up with, like, you know, something that would be meaningful for them that maybe is not in their skill set, but it's something that, like, just comes to me and I enjoy. So that's one of the solutions.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. There's a girl who comes to our farmers market occasionally, and she calls it Poetry Express. Mm-hmm. And she has an old manual typewriter, and she'll say, you know, give me any topic and I will write a poem on it. So, like, my kids wanted, and you give her like $2. And so my kids did it, and it was very funny because they picked, like, my son picked Ninja Turtles. She's like, okay. So she actually wrote this really great, and she's like, okay, let me think about that for a minute. She really literally thought about it for probably 1 minute and wrote the coolest poem about Ninja Turtles. It was awesome. Wow. It was like 2 paragraphs. Really short. And then she wrote one about Abby Cadabby, who's a Sesame Street character for my daughter. And I was like, oh, and she I don't even think she knew who she was. We had to tell her she's a fairy. She flies. And she wrote, it was really cute. I was so impressed. So I love that idea. And so I saved them for my kids. They look at them all the time and we read them, because they're like cute little poems, like, you know, the Ninja Turtles.
And they're made just for them. So it's meaningful, because they're like, it's my poem. It was made for me.
Yes.
So
yeah. And she typed it up.
That's
really
fun.
Cute.
I don't have a typewriter, but there's ways
that's
around
great.
it. And that's another challenge for me. It's like, on Periscope too, this is one of my things I do. I go, dun, dun, dun. It's kind of a solution. It's the sound of a solution or an aha. You choose.
Right. And we were talking about this. So one of the things, I was at the Periscope Summit in San Francisco last weekend, and one of the things a lot of people were saying is that like live streaming, like Blab is live streaming, Periscope is live streaming. You know, a lot of people think, like, I need to know what I'm going to talk about. And, like, the best advice they had was, like, you will figure it out once you start talking. I mean, once you get over the idea, like, oh, I'm talking to these people, I don't have any idea who they are. My husband totally makes fun of me because he's like, if you went to a party, you wouldn't talk to anyone. Because I'm kind of like, I don't like small talk, and I feel just awkward. I'm like, I don't know what to say to these people. But he's like, but you cook in front of like 400 people on Periscope and like make jokes about The Walking Dead. And I'm like, yeah, it's different. It's like the perfect place where you can be comfortable. You don't have like everyone kind of in your face and all that like personal pressure. And I do think like it's a great place where once you start talking, you can kind of figure out your message. And I think that's definitely been true for me, and I think that it sounds like that's been true for you as well.
You know, when I tied the pink bow around my neck and said, "Happy Mother's Day, Mom," I see her giving me props. Thanks, Mom. I'm moving home. Thanks for trusting me and being open to my journey. I really appreciate it, and I love you. I wasn't sure, and I spent a lot of time in my childhood bedroom that I moved back into, which I like it, you know, and I was just like, I spent a lot of time in my head and just trying to figure it out, like figure it out. And I learned that I can't force it. That's against the laws of the universe anyway. I learned that the hard way. And also I was really lonely. Like I felt kind of like Rapunzel. I was upstairs and looking out the window and just trying to think my way through it. And one of the online teachers that I follow that you're probably familiar with, Marie Forleo, she says, clarity comes through engagement, not through thought. And even though I got it, a lot of these concepts like intellectually, and I would copy and share the Facebook messages and the inspirational quotes, I was having a lot of trouble integrating it and living it. And, you know, I just also felt like I didn't really know where my people were. Like I love connecting with people, but I didn't know where my community and the people that wanted to do something different and might not want a desk job anymore were. Because when I would go to events in New York City, I would go to like a Gabrielle Bernstein event or a Marie Forleo event or something where all those spiritual, you know, New Yorkers would go together, but I didn't know them. I would meet somebody, I'd sit next to them, we'd have a moment, I'd, you know, get their business card, we exchange, and then it would take so much work to kind of like become friends with them because you have so much in common. They go back to Brooklyn, I go back to Westchester, Upper East Side or whatever, and then it's like, okay, it just felt really intimidating. And that's why, for two reasons, I'm really in love with live stream and Periscope and Blab and all of this, because I've really met some amazing people through Periscope and you know, that have turned into really lifelong friends, and the people that I've always wanted to be around that I didn't know where to find otherwise. Like the fact that you can go on Periscope and see the same people pop into different scopes and see you have common interests, it's just really like a whole different world. And it's very hard to explain that to somebody who's not open to what is Periscope and see like why it's so amazing. But once you experience it, and if it's for you, it'll click. And if it's not, that's okay too. But for me, I feel like Periscope is what everything I could have wanted, but I couldn't have known. Just like, you know, when I graduated college, we didn't know that social media, digital media was a thing. We didn't know that Periscope was going to exist. So it's really a big lesson in soulful trusting of just, you know, you don't know what's going to be next, but Periscope has really helped me to just come out there and share myself. And how you and I met, Christine, is through the mastermind, inspirational mastermind group called Peri 10K, and it's PERI 10K. And I just feel really, oh, cool, thanks. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have listened to my soulful intuition, because I don't know if you know this story, but I was still feeling really frustrated. I mean, I had been working, you know, I had left my job for 2 years, then the receptionist at a yoga studio, gone and done some other, you know, temp jobs. I also was doing some freelance work, doing MailChimp for my astrologist friends and other like side projects, but it wasn't, I just wasn't getting like, honestly, the support and the encouragement that I felt like that I could really make this happen. I felt lonely and like I was hermiting. And I think on August 8th of 2015 of last year, I woke up earlier than normal, and I heard like a message, a voice that said, "Today's the day you're going to try Periscope." And I was like, all right. And I literally was like, all right, download the app. And I had been resisting because I was like, another social media thing. You know, I saw it, but that day I was like, okay. And I followed like 200 people that I had on Twitter. And I was like, I wonder who's on this. And the first thing I got invited to, the first broadcast or Periscope I got invited to, was a meditation scope. And it was part of Global Meditation Scope. And the founder of Global Meditation Scope, Anita Wing Lee, on Periscope and social media, was in that exact scope. And my jaw dropped, and I was like, what is this? Oh my God, all these spiritual people in one spot from around the world. And she only, like, I think it was only 10 days before, had created this thing called Global Meditation Scope, you know, 100 guides from around the world, just, I don't think it was 100 then, but that were just coming together to each lead a meditation and connect the community. And then 3 months later, she created a second one, and they had 200 guides from around the world. So that was the first community that I actually felt like welcomed into, and really, you know, I was just in shock. And then I think the next day, I somehow got invited to a Peri 10K scope, which was the beginning of the Peri 10K mastermind group. And Katya Barbanova, who was the founder of Peri 10K, which was called just the Peri 10K Hearts Transfer at the time, said, oh, we have an open spot. Stephanie, you're in the comments. Do you want to go? And I just was like, all right. And my mom was telling me, Stephanie, do the dishes. Well, you've been attached to that phone all day. What's going on? And I was like, I'll do them later. I was like, don't talk to me. I'm going up to my room. I'm doing something. I don't know what I'm doing. And I shut the door, and I went on my first Periscope. I didn't catch it or save it because I didn't even know. I didn't even have a title because I didn't know how to write a title. I just hit the start broadcast button. I started talking. And in the first Periscope, I actually put the wig on. I saw it in my room, and I was like, this feels right. And I put it on. I don't even know. I think I sang the Aha's Lady Gaga song, but it just felt so good. Like, I've always really wanted to express myself and allow myself to be myself. And I wasn't doing that when I was, you know, in the Nickelodeon jobs or the digital media company jobs. I just felt embarrassed that I wanted to watch Doreen Virtue Oracle angel card readings and promote like inspirational quotes, and just like I would do it occasionally, but I didn't feel like it. So when I finally left, I started binge sharing like everything inspirational. People were like, is that girl okay? But you know,
who are you?
But it was just magical. And then with the Peri 10K group, we are a group that shares uplifting and inspirational content, and we have a theme every day, which is what it evolved into. And everybody talks about the same topic that is meant to uplift and inspire you in your personal and professional development for 10 minutes at a time. And I just started just going on and talking about the theme. And the love that I received back in the form of hearts and the comments, and then we moved into a private Facebook group. It was just something that I'd always been looking for, and I never knew how to get. It was just like, these are my people, and this is my thing. And everything I had been learning, I was finally able to like spit it back and share it and be like, whoa, I really like teaching spiritual types of lessons, and now I'm actually integrating them because I'm sharing them, and it's even more meaningful, and I don't feel so alone. And I don't have to leave my house, which is great because I'm a Cancer sun sign, so I like to hermit. But at the same time, I have an Aries moon, so I'm very fiery. That's where it all comes together. And the Virgo is I'm very detailed, and I love collecting stuff like a crab, collecting all my information, which brings me full circle to the Solutions with Stef. I've collected so much knowledge and information. Now it's time for me to share it. And that kind of ties into what I'm also envisioning right now is my own community, because I was really inspired from Anita Wing Lee's Soul Family community. She calls her followers Soul Family, which was the global meditation scope movement. And then Mr. A. Singh, who's an amazing designer and artist in the UK, has now launched the Rebel Creatives, which is a bunch of creative people who want to, show that we can do things differently and don't have to follow conventions. And so I'm now, as of this week, I've just come clear, through all of my periscopes with Perry 10K, which has helped me to really get clearer on my actual message and who I want to reach, that I want to create the community called Solution Stars, because I love, helping people come up with their dun 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 moments and their ahas. And I like to scope about the things that I think we need solutions for in this world. So that's my scoping. I'm going to create a scoping schedule around the things I think we need solutions for, and share the solutions that I've come up with, like quirky things I do. Like, I have arthritis in my big toe, so sometimes I wear colorful socks, and then I put on the theme song to the Wonder Woman, and I wiggle my toes to it. Like things that people normally wouldn't do, but I can make people smile, and they'd be like, hey, if it works, like, why not? So, share my creativity with people. And then also I can have my own fairy trains of people, like, what do you need a solution for? And then have 10 different people give their perspective on, like, I'm tired of all my dinner recipes. Anybody got some? And then everybody share theirs. So that's how I'm giving back to people, like actually being, connecting. Not the people, like there's two parts. There's the, the people, the healers and the helpers that need clients, and the people that need to meet them. And then also just people who want to be uplifted, inspired, have a little bit more play in their lives, and just gather around positive people who are going to encourage them, to help them uncover whatever their gifts are and give them. So that's what Solutions and Stuff is all about.
Fantastic. Awesome. So exciting. And I love that. Like, going back to just what you said about Periscope, I think that's so true. Like, people who haven't tried it, if you've been waiting for it, it's like when you do it, it just clicks if it's the thing for you. And I think for me, Periscope's been so interesting because there are so many like-minded, like spiritually minded people, which like surprises me all the time. I'm like,
where are they been hiding?
Yeah, right. And why are they all on Periscope? But I mean, it's great. So I'm so excited. But we only have a couple more minutes, so I want to ask you a final question. Okay. Even though you're not in sales, I think you are a very mindful business, just or mindful person in general. So what advice or tools would you give to someone who's an entrepreneur who wanted to approach selling or sales in like an authentic way?
Well, just to clarify, technically I am in sales with the direct retail brand of Beauty Counter, but I think, think that that was actually ties beautifully into the question, because I think a lot of the ways that the training was laid out, it didn't mesh with me. So the soulful selling version this is my next phase of what I'd like to experiment with the Beauty Counter, is that, it doesn't have to be everything I do, but I want to do it in a way that's customized to you. People teach in a certain way that this is how it needs to be done, but at the same time, just follow your own gut and your instincts. And really, if you want to sing parody songs, maybe you could sell through that. As long as you're selling and you're not hurting anyone, give it a try. Really, I am all about customizing your life and figuring out who you are. So take the steps to really get to know yourself. I'm starting to hear getting to know you, getting to know all about you. And I would love, if I can help you, provide you with some resources that can help you to get to know yourself, I'd love to be helpful with that. And then just really figure out who you are, what are your strengths, how do you want to feel, which ties into Danielle Laporte's The Desire Map. How do you want to feel? And then how can you give your gifts? And experiment with different ways. You don't have to do things how everybody says you need to do it. You know, I like to say you're not doing it wrong. You're just doing it differently. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, try something else. So that's my next phase. I plan on making a video about my, you know, the products and doing it one time and then hosting Q&A sessions using Zoom or Blab or something like that. So that's my next phase as to how I'm using the tools and technologies that are available to really customize it towards me and see how that goes for the next phase of how I'm going to work with the Beautytown or direct retail brand and integrate it into all my social
I love
solutions.
that.
So just be true to you.
Yeah, and that's so funny because that is a big part. I always say sales breaks down into confidence, trust, and the sales process. And most of confidence is figuring out who you are and what your sales style is. And your sales style is really like who you authentically are. So if you're a person who sings songs or if you're a person who writes poems, like that's who you are. And you have to own it, right? Because that's what is most authentic
like
to you.
Turn the bottle around. What's inside your lotion? You know, that kept coming to me. And honestly, I was afraid. I was like, I'm going to get in trouble. But you know what? If I don't try, I'll never know. So here goes something. Be yourself, customize your life, and figure out what's best for you. There's no instruction manual. It's just life. Have fun.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Again, this is Christine. I'm from Soulful Selling Bootcamp. I'm going to type that in. And then this is Stef from Solutions with Stef. Where can people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on Stephanie Renner everywhere, and Periscope particularly. I do playful scopes almost every day, and at Stephanie Renner, and it's Stef with an F, always STEFANIE, Renner, RENNERT. The last name is almost a palindrome, spelled forward and back, almost the same, except there's an extra T at the end. And I'll put my link here too, the Beauty Counter link. As well. And then also I'm going to go with hashtag Solution Stars as well, which will be coming more soon. But this is very exciting. Thank you so much, Christine. This was like really a pivotal time for me. And I love the platform of Soulful Selling to be the place where I bared my soul. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm so excited to share this with everybody. So I will see you soon in Perry 10K and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you, everybody.